Here we go. Here we go. So wake y'all asses up. First hit, first downs in full effect. Come and roll up with your boy. We about to talk some football. Week 10 reactions, guys. How you guys doing this morning? First and foremost, man. Hopefully everybody's doing well. Everybody feeling well. Let's open up today's agenda, man. Let's see what we got on tap for today. As you guys can see, if I'm doing this correctly, yeah. As you guys can see, we got some shit to talk about today. Of course, we got our thoughts and reactions to Sunday's games. We had some blowouts. We had some comebacks. We had really only one really tightly contested game all the way through, and we're going to talk about that game too. Of course, we're going to talk about the Monday Night Football game with the Eagles at the Green Bay Packers and our trade deadline reactions because there was some movement going on this past week, boy. So we're going to get into this shit. We're going to have a good time today. Before we do, always be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, to the Facebook, you know what I'm saying? John, follow me everywhere on at New Jersey Preem, everywhere. You can follow the Wake and Bake Podcast Facebook at the Wake and Bake Podcast page. You guys, you know what I'm saying? Just show some love and shit. You feel me? But let's get into today's agenda, man. Let's see what we're talking about first. You feel me? My bad. So I thought some reactions on Sunday's game, man. So Sunday we had some good games. We had some shocking games. We had some, like I said, we had some blowout games. You know what I'm saying? We had some stuff that was really surprising to me. And one of the biggest surprises that I had got out of this past week 10 games, was the Bills versus Miami, boy. And I think everybody that saw that game automatically assumed that the Bills was going to win that game just because the way that they've been playing recently, especially last week against the Chiefs, and the way that the Dolphins has been playing, more in particular Tua Tagovailoa. So yesterday was really shocking when the Bills lost to the Dolphins 30-13. Now, I don't think losing to the Dolphins is as bad as people say. The Dolphins is actually on paper a really good team. You know what I'm saying? They have a lot of pieces, some good talent and shit like that. But losing to the Dolphins 30-13, ugh, ugh, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. Like I don't like it's a divisional game, so things are going to be different, of course. So I'm not going to put too much into that shit. But at the same time, only putting up 13 against that Dolphins defense, that's like playing against Dallas Cowboys defense and only putting up 13 points. Like, it might be something wrong with your offense. Might be something going on over there. Y'all might want to check out for real. James Cook, in my opinion, got to be the focal point of that offense. I understand that you guys have Josh Allen, but the running game is what makes that offense go. Especially because they don't have, excuse me, especially because they don't have the threats that they need to have, especially deep ball wise with Josh Allen and stuff like that. So use that running game a lot more, man. Like feed James Cook, use Josh Allen in the short yardage shit like you guys been doing, and just keep continuing to feed him and let them stuff the box, get you some one-on-one opportunities, and then you can be able to take advantage of that shit. But dropping back 40-something times with Josh Allen is not going to get you a dub, man. Not right now. The weapons that he has, I believe that Dalton Kincaid or Dawson Knox, one of the two tight ends went down in this game with a hamstring. Don't know if he will return or not. But yeah, man, it's just weird to see a team come off the way that and maybe because it's the fact of they put so much effort into beating Kansas City the week before that they kind of overlooked Miami, or they could have just been gassed by the time, you know what I'm saying, them and Miami played each other. But I'm not going to give no excuses. You can't lose to the worst team in your division. I think second worst team because of Jets. But Miami is one of the two worst teams in the AFC East, and the Bills just lost to them. The Bills got to pay attention coming up, man. They got some tough games coming up. Of course, I believe they got one or two more games against New England. I don't even know if they played New England yet, but New England is the leader of that division. And New England defense, I know we're talking about Drake May, and we'll get to that game, but New England defense is back to being New England defense that everybody know, you know what I'm saying, and kind of hate it. You know what I'm saying? But they back to being one of the top scoring defense, meaning like you might get some yardage off of on them and shit like that. You might even drive down the field, but you're not going to score too often on those guys. So shout out to them. But man, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Tua still had, I think, 2 interceptions. He didn't have a huge game. It was the running game. Achan had over 140 yards rushing. He had 2 tutties, if I'm not mistaken. I think they had got a kick return or a punt return. So it was like a full team effort. Josh Allen threw 2 turnovers or threw one. I know one of them was in the goddamn end zone, in the red zone, that he threw that interception, and that shit was nasty looking. I don't like how that shit was looking for real, bro. Hey, appreciate you. Sorry, no idea what the dragon thing is, but I'd like to hear you chat. Hey, I appreciate you, bro. There's no problem, man. There's no problem. I appreciate that for real. Straight up. Straight up. But and that's over on Twitch, y'all. I forgot, y'all. We on Twitch, we on Facebook, we on YouTube. We would have been on TikTok, but they acted funny, man. We're gonna be on TikTok next week though. I promise y'all for real. But yeah, man, it really pissed me off to see the Bills struggle the way that they struggled against the Dolphins, man. Because if I'm not tripping, people was trying to convince me that Josh Allen was the MVP, and not only the MVP, but leading the MVP race in front of people like Matt Stafford, Jonathan Taylor, Drake May. You know what I'm saying? Just to name a few. MV Prescott. You know, I had to throw my guy in there for real. But just to name a few, people was trying to explain to me that Josh Allen was one of those ones, and shit, and I just can't see it. I just can't see it, man. And speaking of Josh Allen, let's go to his um the version, a different version of him, right? You know what I'm saying? We're gonna go over here to the New York Giants and talk about their quarterback and the lesser version of Josh Allen, the poor man's Josh Allen, if you will. How long will Jackson Dart last? Not only in New York, but in the NFL. So he's been starting for a better part of the season. I say he's been starting for at least 4 games, right? And in those 4 games, at least 2 of them, he's got a concussion in, and that's something to be worried about. That's something to pay attention to. That's something to notice. And I'm looking at Jackson Dart in this last game against the Chicago Bears, whereas though they like look, he is their best weapon as of right now. So I'm not mad at the way they're using him. He got to protect himself better. They got to call better plays for him to be allowed to protect himself. Jackson Dart, you are probably going to be the New York Giants franchise quarterback in the foreseeable future. You have to understand that and understand how valuable you are to that franchise, that fan base, and those players, and protect yourself, bro. Every yard does not need to be gained. You don't have to fight for every yard. Sometimes it's okay to slide. This is your second concussion in about 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. I'm trying to remember what game it was. I want to say it was that Eagle game on Thursday night that you had that the first concussion in, and they fined Brian Dayball on some shit because like he finessed to get you back in that motherfucker. No. They fined him and Scatterbo for walking into the tent. I think that's what it was and shit. But bro, you got to protect yourself. Dayball, you got to find a better way to protect your quarterback. He's going to be the reason why you guys go anywhere if you guys go anywhere. So hold on. So I'm looking at it like this, right? When you got a quarterback that's physical, you got a quarterback that's big and strong. You got to protect him from himself. I mean, just look like we just got done talking about Josh Allen. Josh Allen fumbled the ball against Miami because he was fighting for extra yards when he didn't have to. They did a quarterback sneak. He got the quarterback sneak, and then he was fighting for extra yards after that. And then they stripped the ball. He fumbled. So I don't like the fact that you're doing, you know what I'm saying, it's extra shit that you have to do. It's bad enough that the Giants' offensive line is that bad. You got to find a better way to protect your quarterback, and your quarterback got to make sure that he stays protected. Jackson Dart is in Jackson Dart is in concussion protocol. So you guys, you know what I'm saying, go ahead and get him right, because I am a fan of watching Jackson Dart play. I think I love what he's doing for the city of New York, and I'm a Cowboy fan. I can give a fuck about the Giants, but I do like it when these teams are competitive, man. I want my division to be the best division in football. I just want Dallas to be at the top of it. You know what I'm saying? That's all that is for real. That's all that is for real. But I'm not really mad at Dayball for playing him the way he playing him. You gotta do it a little bit smarter, bro. This the same offensive coordinator slash head coach that was the guy that got Josh Allen on track. People gave Brian Dayball all the credit in the world for doing what he was able to do with Josh Allen. So just be mindful of what type of talent you have and what they do and what they're, great at, and try to protect them from themselves. Because these guys are used to being the best players on the field. So they think they could do anything against anyone. So sometimes you got to reel them back in, bro. That's all I'm saying for real, man. Shout out to Jackson Dart. Hopefully you get healthy, you get back on that field, you're able to ball out, bro. I'm a fan of how he energized that organization, that fan base in that city for real, bro. Shout out to Jackson Dart. But we're gonna keep this shit moving because we got some more shit to talk about, bro. And speaking of, because I told you guys we had some close games, we had some blowouts, and we had some comebacks, right? And one of the biggest comebacks of yesterday was the Jacksonville Jaguars losing to the Texans, the Houston Texans, without CJ Stroud, another quarterback that was in concussion protocol. His situation is completely different to Jackson Dart because he was running, he was sliding, and the defense player was like, I'm going down there with you. And he hit his ass and shit. But the Giants give up 26 points in the fourth quarter, bro. And they was up, I believe, for a better part the entire game, if I'm not mistaken. And then they gave up 26 points in the fourth quarter to Davis Mills. Shout out to Nico Collins for being healthy and getting, I think he had like a $136 or some shit like that. But they gave up 26 points. Now I could understand. I really couldn't understand if you gave it up to CJ Stroud. You know what I'm saying? Or any quarterback of that matter. For that matter, for real. Like, you don't give up 26 points in the fourth quarter while you had the lead. But they did that. And we need to start looking at Jacksonville a little different. Not the head coach. This is his what's his name? Leon Cohen. This is first year. I'm not worried about the head coach. Maybe he'll be better, maybe he won't. But this is his first year. We're gonna give him a little bit of grace. But we're gonna have to start looking at these first round. I'm talking about top 10 picks. It's like 40 top 10 picks on Jacksonville, bro. Come on. I understand that Travis Hunter is out, you know what I'm saying, at least for the next 4 weeks, I believe. But come on, bro. What's my boy name? The LSU receiver and shit. But what happened to your hands? You know what I'm saying? What happened to your hands? He was balling last year. I remember last year he came in. It was out of him, Neighbors, and Marvin Harrison Jr. And people were surprised that he had the better season out of those three receivers. You know what I'm saying? So to watch him come in this season and you got a little bit more help on the offensive end and still not be able to produce the way you was able to produce in your rookie season is giving Kyle Pitts. It's giving Kyle Pitts. And if anyone that remembers, Kyle Pitts came through his rookie season, had 1,000 yards, was doing his thing, and he haven't looked the same since. Man. But the Jacksonville Jaguars allow for the Texans that have a horrible offensive line, decimated by injuries, missing their starting quarterback, come in there and put 26 points up on them in the fourth quarter. And this is the type of shit right here that that makes you, if you're a Jacksonville Jaguar fan, that makes you just want to, pull your goddamn hair out, because you can't have a better game that they was having in the first, let's say, 3.5 quarters. And then switch just flipped for the Texans, and all pun intended, put the Jags lights out in the fourth quarter. I mean, they exploded and put the Jags lights out in the fourth quarter. No diddy. You know what I'm saying? But watching, because I was watching, a couple games, and I was watching Red Zone all at the same time. So I was really focusing on maybe like 2 or 3 games, and then I was catching Red Zone with the plays and the highlights and shit like that. So watching how they was playing at the beginning of the game and throughout the game, I was like, all right, bet. You know what I'm saying? The Jags about to win this game real quick and send the Texans packing as they should. They're the better team. They're a healthier team out of the two teams. Both of them have major injuries, but no, that wasn't the case. Trevor Lawrence and those guys couldn't hold that lead, and they couldn't score more points in the second half and into the fourth quarter. And the Texans with Davis Mills was able to come back is like I said, score 26 26 unanswered points. Excuse me, because I don't even know if you guys understand that. Like they scored 26-0 in the fourth quarter. The Texans had 26 points and the Jags had 0, bro. Horrible game if you're a Jags fan. Real bad game if you a on the offensive side of the ball if you're Jags. Hell, real bad game if you're on the defensive side of the ball if you're the Jags because you allowed 26 points in one quarter, bro. Especially in the fourth quarter. You can't do that. When you have that major lead, you can't do that. And then the final score, right, was like 36-20 something. You know, like they took the lead and just kept scoring after that. They was being disrespectful, in my opinion, if you was talking about the Texans. But the Jags can't allow nobody put up 26 points in one quarter and then expect yourself to win, especially the fourth quarter. Excuse me. But that's exactly what they did. That's exactly what they did. And that was just some of the games that I was watching from this Sunday that I had interest in. Like I said, some of them was blowouts, some of them was comebacks. The closest game of the week, in my opinion, is our game of the week, and we about to get right into that. So let's do that right now, sir. So our game of the week this week, man. What you guys think it is, huh? What you guys think it is? I think that if you was watching these games this week, there's only one that you could really show. There's only one that you could really talk about, and that's this game right here. The New England Patriots went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and handled business. Shout out to Drake May, man. Shout out to Drake May, bro. Drake May is out here having one of the best fucking seasons of anybody, especially year two guy. We normally watch year two guys struggle because defense have tape and all that good shit that you hear most of the time, right? So the fact that we're watching Drake May in command and so confident of this offense. I mean, he's smooth with it. He's operating the shit out this offense. You feel me? And then they had Trayvon, I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, Henderson, 14 rushes for 147 yards and 2 tutties. The last tutty, he over there looking at the sideline like, hey, should I really score? And it reminded me of Dash from The Incredibles when they like, hey, man, slow down a little bit, you know, make it look a little bit, make it look good and shit like that. Like, that's what I was getting from that. But, man, the Patriots is really good, looking really good. I'm really surprised that they didn't make a major move at the trade deadline to get another weapon for him. Stephon Diggs came through in the clutch, got the go-ahead touchdown. Drake May came through in the clutch. You see, Drake May had that one blemish on his record right now, that one interception. I'm not even blaming him for that, right? I'm not even blaming him for that. I mean, you can blame, of course, you can blame him for it, but I'm saying he playing so good throughout the season. Like, it's all right. It's all right, bro. You can get one. You can have one, especially because you came back and won that game. A lot of you guys, MVP, a lot of you guys that have him in the conversation for MVP. Both of these quarterbacks was in the conversation for MVP, but we're talking about Baker Mayfield as of right now, right? Baker Mayfield was 28 for 43, 273 yards and 3 tutties. Bro threw the ball 43 times and only had 3 more yards than Drake May. I'm not feeling that. They didn't have no semblance of a running game at all. You see, their leading rusher had 9 rushes for 53 yards. Emeka Ejigba, hopefully I pronounced his name right. 6 receptions, 115 yards. He's continuing his stake to become Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's been balling this year, with or without Mike Evans on the other side of him. And then we had Tej Johnson that had 4 receptions for 42 yards, and 2 of those 4 receptions went for tutties. So Baker Mayfield had to drop back a lot yesterday. But I really want to talk about how really, like, Drake May, bro, So anybody that watches football, we understand that Todd Bowles loves to blitz, right? We understand that Todd Bowles really likes to blitz, and especially he likes to blitz younger quarterbacks, right? So my bad. We still in the game of the week. So as as I'm sitting back and watching, I believe, and I could be completely wrong, right? But I believe that Drake May want like 70% completion or higher against blitzes for over 100 yards and I think 2 touchdowns. That's impressive as hell. Not only because this is his second year and he probably haven't seen some of these blitzes that was thrown at him yesterday, but you have to be able to know where the blitz is coming, slide the protection that way, maybe keep your running back in for check protection and shit like that, bro. He was really out there quarterbacking yesterday. And he looked really comfortable. He looked really good doing that shit, man. I think we might have to give a little bit more respect to Drake May and pay a little bit more attention to New England. I believe they're 8-2 right now. Now, I was talking to my co-host from the Wake and Bake podcast, shout out to Jay Will yesterday, right? And we both was talking about teams that, you know, looking really good, but we don't know for sure, right? And the particular conversation was about the Denver Broncos. And my answer to him was the Denver Broncos is not going to be as good as we think they should be because their offense is not going to allow that. I feel like New England can be as good as however you think they should be because their offense is not afraid to go out there and win games. I feel like a lot of these other teams, either your defense is playing not to lose or your offense is playing not to lose instead of going out there to play to win the game in the words of Herm Edwards and shit. But I feel like when it comes down to it though, like I think New England definitely is the better team, the better coach team out of the two. And I'm not taking nothing away from Sean Payton, but I'm talking about when it comes to both sides of the ball. I think both sides of the ball, New England has a step above any team in the AFC, in my opinion. I think they're probably the most complete team. And then if you add in special teams, you know, they're probably the most complete team in the AFC as of right now. And I'm not saying that they're better at every position than every other team in the AFC. I'm saying that if you add up defense, offense, special teams, hell, even if you add in coaching, I think that they're the best in the AFC right now. I know people be like, "Oh, well, what about Kansas City?" Kansas City defense ain't been as good as it used to been, and the offense ain't as good as it used to be. So let's be honest about that shit. You feel me? Let's be honest about that shit. But our game of the week, bro, in my opinion, our game of the week definitely deserves to be um talked about. I think, like I said, I think Drake, the way that Drake May handled the blitz. Again, this is first hit, first down. I appreciate everybody joining. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Y'all comment down below who y'all think that should have got the game of the week. If y'all agree with my game of the week and my statement about the fact that if we're going to really rank these MVPs, and we're going to get to that a little bit later on, right? But if we're going to really rank these MVPs, I'm putting Drake May ahead of Baker Mayfield. It's that simple. It's just that simple. I'm putting Drake May ahead of Baker Mayfield, and I don't even think it's close if you really look at it. If you really look at it, I don't think it's close. Like I said, one of the biggest things that I took away from this game, Baker threw that bitch 43 times and only had 3 more yards than Drake May. 1 more touchdown. I understand he had no running game, and Drake May had a fucking running game. But when you throw that bitch 43 times, I expect you to have a little bit, you know what I'm saying, some bigger numbers than that for real. But I think that Drake May has been proving himself, like I said, in his sophomore year, whereas though a lot of people look what's going. Well, look what was happening with Jayden Daniels. Um, you know what I'm saying, when he was out there healthy this season, he didn't look as good as he did last year. Because, like I said, most of the time these defensive coordinators and defensive players watch film and they understand tendencies and they attack them. Drake May has been, in my opinion, also watching film and understand what he's lacking at, and he has made himself a stronger and a better player, man. We gotta give respect where respect is due. He's out here looking like a beast, and I love it. I love it personally. Like he did his thing for real, Like, shout out to Drake May for allowing the New England Patriots to be a part of the game of the week and stake his point, his claim to that motherfucking MVP for real. Because if we're gonna be talking about Baker, you know about Drake May, in my humble opinion, of course. All right, so we do have a Monday night game tonight too, y'all. We do have a Monday night game. Unfortunately, it will be the two green teams that I do not like at all. It is the Philadelphia Eagles at the Green Bay Packers. Right? Right? So let's just talk about it. Eagles have made some moves on the trade deadline. We definitely talk about that. Of course, Michael Parsons is the newest Green Bay Packer over there. My issue with the Green Bay Packers as of recently, especially let's say the last 3 or 4 weeks, their defense hasn't been the defense we expect them to be. I think we all expected Green Bay to be a top 5 defense this year. I understand they don't have the DBs, you know what I'm saying, but they have one of the well, at least on papers, they have one of the best front sevens in the NFL. So there's no way that you shouldn't be constantly getting pressure. I understand that Mike is being doubled, hell, even triple teamed at times with a chip coming from either tight end or a running back, even down block, sometimes with a goddamn receiver on Micah and shit. But but I understand that. But you still got Rashad Gary. You still have other amazing pieces that can go get the quarterback and go get some pressure on the quarterback. So we got to figure out what's going on with Green Bay defense and why they haven't been consistent this year, especially surprisingly against the run. Also, like I said, you guys get a little bit of time and you know what I'm saying? The quarterback get a little bit of time back there in the pocket. He's gonna be able to get a good completion because their DBs is low key trash for real. But I'm not feeling what's going on in either places. The Eagles is definitely has been trying their best to get better throughout the trade deadline when they went and got Michael Carter, I believe, the second, and Jalen Phillips from Miami. Well, Michael Carter's from the Jets, but they got Jalen Phillips from Miami. And bro, like I'm gonna keep it a being with you. Like I didn't want them to go get a pass rusher, but they did. Brandon Graham came out of retirement. He's 192 years old. I ain't tripping, but he came out of retirement. But he is going to add a lot to that team. I'm not going to front. He's going to add a lot to that team and that locker room. He's going to add the leadership that they need across that defensive line because I think the leader on that defensive line, from a talent standpoint, it might even be from a motherfucking tenure standpoint too. It's goddamn Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, and I don't think you want either one of those guys right now in their career to be the leader of your locker room, especially on the defensive end. So bringing Brandon Graham back in there just for leader purposes is probably a good thing, and shout out to them for doing so. But this game is going to come down to which offense can move the ball better against these struggling defenses. And honestly, if I'm looking at it and being honest with you, I think the Eagles might have a little bit of a better chance of moving the ball against the Packers defense than vice versa. And I'll explain. So the reason why I think that the Eagles can move the ball a little bit better than the Packers will is because their offensive line is legit and they still have a legit running game. You know what I'm saying? Saquon, in that game before the bye against the Giants, showed old Saquon. He showed himself from last year, and he was able to. I think he had like 160 something rushing yards, so he was able to really go out there and ball out for real. So I expect him to try to keep that up, especially leading towards the playoffs. Try to really rev Saquon up, and I don't think that the Packers can really stop the run as of right now. And I ain't even talking about on the edges. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying, oh, they just running that Micah side. I'm not even trying to imply that shit. The issue is that they run it right up the middle. The Eagles is having a similar situation, which is surprising because they have those two defensive tackles with the ones I just mentioned, and Carter and Davis. They having a similar problem, but I think theirs is more fixable than the Packers is because the Packers, I just don't think that they have the defensive tackles that they supposed to need. Surprisingly, giving up Kenny Clark to the Dallas Cowboys. Um, Another fun thing that I wanted to talk about. Hold on, I just realized something. But another fun thing I wanted to talk about was the fact that these two teams is always in conversation with each other. I believe that it was during the offseason when the tush push was being voted on and for. If I'm not mistaken, I think the Green Bay Packers was one of the only teams that voted for it to stay, or they might have voted for it against it, honestly. But I know it was a couple teams. It wasn't too many teams. It might have been the Detroit Lions that voted for it to stay, honestly. But um, it's another revenge game, I guess, for the Eagles for everybody that wanted them to ban the tush push and all that good shit. But I'm gonna go ahead and pick the Packers to win this game, not only because I'm an Eagles hater, but because no, I'm sorry, I'm tripping. I'm actually gonna go ahead and pick the Eagles to win this game, and I am an Eagle hater. That's always gonna stand true. But like I said, I think that they have a better chance of beating the Packers and moving the ball consistently against that defense because they have a stronger and a more stout offensive line. Saquon is looking to rev up towards the end of the season, and the Packers DBs is not that good. The Eagles do have at least two good DBs with Cooper Dijon, whatever the fuck how you say his name, and Quentin Mitchell or Quinyon Mitchell and shit. Excuse me, but so they do have at least two good DBs, whereas though the Packers don't have one, in my opinion. Shit, don't have one. So you give Hurts a little bit more time, and like I said, you guys end up start playing them run because Saquon is getting big chunks off on you guys. No diddy and shit. Y'all gonna have to creep them safety down in the box. You know what I'm saying? Load that box up a little bit, and then that's gonna give out one opportunities for AJ Brown and skinny Batman Devontae Smith, and of course Dallas Goedert to eat up the middle of the field. So yeah, I expect the Eagles to go out there and handle business against the Green Bay Packers, and then they have another tough game the very next week against the Detroit Lions, and that's going to be my game of the week next week. So y'all guys make sure I'm not going to say my game of the week, not first hit, first down game of the week, but that's definitely going to be my game of the week that I'm going to be watching. You know what I'm saying? So you guys make sure y'all check that shit out with the Eagles and the Lions. That should be a hell of a game. Game on Monday night tonight should be a hell of a game between the Packers and the Eagles for real, yo. But we're gonna keep this shit moving, and I can't believe I just picked the Eagles to win. And last time I picked the Eagles to win, they lost. So hopefully that mojo still works for real. But we're gonna keep this shit moving and go into our next topic because our next topic is our trade deadline reaction, right? Which is crazy because boy, oh boy, was teams making moves. And this trade deadline shit. You know what I'm saying? This is not even you can't even see the entire fucking joint. I just realized that shit. You can't even see the Quentin Williams up there. Dallas sent a first from 2027 and a second from this year coming up. Plus, Mozzie Smith the fuck up out of here. That's what I'm talking about. For Quentin Williams, the best defensive tackle in the NFL. I've been watching a lot of national sports cover this shit, and I only been watching clips because I really don't watch their shows no more. But I do watch one, and first things first. And shit, shout out to those boys over there. I think they do a great job, but I still think they was wrong on this one when they said that Dallas lost this trade or it was a stupid trade, it didn't make no sense, and blah 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 blah. My bro, give a fuck about none of that shit. You got the best defensive tackle in the league. In the league. He's not top 3. He's not top 2. He's the best defensive tackle in the league. And you got him. That's a good pickup right there. I don't give a fuck how you got him. That's a good pickup right there. Use that man correctly, and you'd be fine. You'd be just fine. You'd be just fine. But we had Sauce Gardner going over to Indy for 2 first rounds and a player. Sauce looked bad in this first game in Indy. Indy did come away with the dub out there in Berlin against Atlanta. but Sauce didn't look good. He got routed up on the goal line against Drake London, I believe. He was out there falling like Deron Bland did last week against Marvin Harrison Jr. and shit. But Sauce is over there at Indy right now for I think they sent a receiver and 2 first rounds over there for real. We had Rashid Shaheed get moved from New Orleans out to Seattle for a 4th round and the 5th round, which was shocking to me because I thought the receiver that was going to be moving out of New Orleans was Chris Olave, who was going to be moving out of New Orleans and shit. I believe the other ones underneath those two that there's 2 more left that like I said is not showing, and I didn't even notice that shit. But the 2 that's not showing as of right now is the Cowboys did trade a 7th round. I was telling them to jump for that, some motherfucker. They 7th round to get Logan Wilson up off the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Eagles, like I said, traded. I think they traded 3rd round, if I'm not mistaken, for Phillips from Miami, and they traded a 6th round, and I believe a player. It might just been 6th round for Michael Carter Williams, or Michael Carter the third, whatever, the DB from the Jets and shit. So they're trying to get that second DB stable because that's been the issue for them this year with Adoree Jackson playing like shit and the boy Ringo playing like shit, and not just having a stable number 2 because they want to keep Cooper DeJean on the inside. So, like I told you guys last week, I thought that they was going to go after Reek Willen. That would have been the made that, you know what I'm saying, that would have made the most sense to me, in my opinion, if they would have went after him from Seattle for real, because I feel like he's the type of player that they would need on the other side of Quinyon Mitchell for real. But these are some of the best trades that we got this year. And I ain't even talking about all the other trades that happened. I'm just talking about these impactful trades that happened this year, man. I was shocked at how shit was going down. I was shocked that Jerry Jones decided that he wanted to go out there and actually make moves during the trade deadline, bro. Because he talks a lot of shit, but he really don't be doing that shit. He don't be going out there and really try to make moves the way he say he is. But he really did that this year, so you got to give him a little bit more respect. And that Micah trade not looking as bad as it originally did at first. You know how I felt about it for real. You know, y'all know how I felt about it for real. But we're gonna go ahead and get into this goddamn first hit, first down player of the motherfucking week, boy. And my player of the week this week, we had some great plays. We had some great players that balled the fuck out. Shout out to Matthew Stafford that did his thing. Shout out to all the running backs out there that did their thing, you know what I'm saying, this week. All the receivers that did their thing this week. But I think my player of the week this week is definitively the player of the week, and I don't think there's too many people that's going to be able to argue with that. And as we get into it, it's Jonathan Taylor, Minneapolis Coast, aka MVP. So this is what I was telling you guys about, right? So we got the player of the week up here, we got the MVP up here, you know what I'm saying, all that good shit. Bro, listen, Jonathan Taylor, in my opinion, is undoubtedly the MVP of this, you know what I'm saying, NFL season. Bro is leading the league in rushing. He's leading the team in almost every statistical category. Look at this shit. 244 rushing yards. He had like 32 carries. 244 rushing yards. 3 tutties. I think he had 2 runs over 80, or at least 2 runs over 60 or some shit like that. And then he added 42 receiving just because he said I could do a little bit of that too out the backfield. But bro, like I said, continues to make his case to be the first running back to win an MVP since Adrian Peterson in 2012. And if you look at his numbers and Adrian Peterson numbers combined by this time in the year, and of course they got one more game or whatever, but by this time in the year, his numbers is actually better than AP was in his MVP season. Put some respect on Jonathan Taylor's name. In my opinion, he is the MVP of this season, and it's so fun. I was talking to my co-host last night, and he was asking me, he was like, "Man, who you think MVP?" And I told him, I'm like, "Yo, I would anytime, right? We would probably just give it to the quarterback, Matt Stafford, without a doubt. I mean, the last 3 games, 13 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 3 dubs. Like, hold on. I don't think you guys understood me. Let me tell you. 13 total touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and 3 dubs in the last 3 games for Matthew Stafford. He's been balling, without a doubt. The best quarterback in the league. He's playing the best play. I mean, he's playing the best, you know what I'm saying, out of any quarterback in the league. That's including MV Prescott over there in Dallas. That's including the Big Show. That's including Josh Allen. That's including Patrick Mahomes. Whoever else you want to name, that's including all those motherfuckers. Matt Stafford is playing the best at the quarterback position in the league. But he's not playing better than Jonathan Taylor, bro. I'm sorry. Jonathan Taylor, like I said, Jonathan Taylor has been the end all be all for Indianapolis. The last couple of weeks, we have been seeing Daniel Jones. Well, Indiana Jones turned back into Danny Dimes. You know what I'm saying? We have been seeing it. We see him hold the ball a lot longer. We see him running around doing a lot of dumb shit. Forced fumbles is happening. Interceptions is happening. But one thing has been consistent is Jonathan motherfucking Taylor. This man is out here really showing everybody in the league. I think he got 1,200 yards by this, like right now. You know what I'm saying? Week 10, he got 1,200 yards. We got, 7 more to go? Well, let's just say we got 6 more to go because he just played week 10. So he's going to play next week. But come on, bro. If he's still balling the way he's balling the first 10 weeks through the next 6 weeks, 7 weeks, you can't debate who the MVP is. This man's going to end the season with over 2,000 yards rushing. He's going to end the season with over 20 touchdowns rushing. You know what I'm saying? If he consistently stay on the path that he's consistently on right now and shit. And we got to remember because my boy AP's MVP season, he was 8 yards away from breaking Eric Dickerson's single season rushing record. That means Jonathan Taylor has a shot at the single season rushing record. Y'all understanding what's going on right now? And I think that once you have a shot at that, shout out to Saquon Barkley, you got to automatically be in the conversation for the MVP. If you get to it. If he gets to it. And maybe I'm a little bit more passionate about this because we know he's a Jersey native. You know what I'm saying? He's from Salem, New Jersey and shit. South Jersey. But if he's close or he gets that record, you have to make him the MVP. You have to. You have to make him the MVP. But as of right now, he's our first hit, first down player of the week. And I don't think anybody can really argue that. No bullshit. I don't think nobody could argue that. You could say that you love Matt Stafford. You could say that you love Dak Prescott. You could say that you love Baker Mayfield. You could say that you love Drake May. You could say that you love whoever else you love. But there's nobody playing better than this gentleman right here. And I argue that with anybody. So you guys let me know who is the MVP of the 2025-2026 NFL season. Who do you guys got down there and shit? I'm sticking with Jonathan Taylor. If you guys peep, we're going to have a special episode of the Wake and Bake podcast headed your way this Saturday featuring our special guest, Sadale Pennington from OPP, as Opposing Perspective Podcast. You guys make sure to check that out because we give a lot of insight and a lot of talk when it comes to this sports shit between myself, my co-host Jay Will, and of course Dale from OPP. So you guys really check that shit out. We give our MVP predictions, we give our Super Bowl predictions, and we give who we think going to actually win the Super Bowl for real. So you guys check that shit out. I appreciate all the love and the comments and shit. We actually from goddamn Twitch, which is I never really get no comment from Twitch, so we appreciate you guys over there. For everybody that's watching, we always appreciate you guys for real. All the love in the world, man. This shit is fun. Look like everything is black. I ain't had no technical issues. I mean, I had one earlier, but that was just on me. But it looked like everything is straight. Like everything is good. As always, thank you guys for subscribing. Thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna catch you guys on the next one. Peace and love, and remember, stay fried, my friend.